Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have David Fischette with us. David, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, brother. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure, man. I am a career creative guy. I've had a agency that I founded when I was 20 years old that I ran for 39 years as the CEO and chief creative. And I left there just about 2 years ago and started a new boutique agency called Created by David Fischette. And I work with big brands and I help them with storytelling, whether that's through live events, content creation, television shows, and yes, really anything that I can do to help them tell their story in a meaningful and authentic way that resonates with their audience.
So, what inspired you to start Created?
Well, so my main company, which I still own, is a company called Go West Creative, and I started that when I was 20, and I kind of started as a DJ. You can see about that turntable behind me. Entertainment, then got into audio, then got into lighting, then got into video, then got into staging and decor and all this kind of stuff. But then really what we got down to was, hey, really what we're doing is we're just using all that stuff. All those things are just tools that we use to help tell a client's story. So really the stickiness of what we do is work with executives and help them hone their message so it is impactful and again authentic, because a lot of times executives think they know who they are to a consumer, and a lot of times who they think they are to a consumer isn't actually authentic. It's who they want to be to a consumer, but not who they actually are. So I really try to work with executives to go, here's what consumers really think about you, right? And let's lean into all the positive things that are actual and true, as opposed to your aspirational things that you want to be that maybe you're not actually there yet. And so really, I've had the good fortune to be able to work with executives from the perspective of the guy sitting in the seat listening to them and go, does that feel real, or does that feel like just a line you're handing me? So Go West is an amazing company and it's got great people, but I just got to the point a few years ago where I realized that being CEO of this company with 40, 50 employees, I spent a lot of my time dealing with operational things, employee issues, other things that were outside of the creative. And I'm just a creative guy from, all the way down to my bones. And so I just thought, it's time for me just to go and just focus on the work. Right. So I didn't want to have a big staff again. I have a great team that I work with, some freelancers, some staff, but really I just wanted to focus on the creative projects and be far more available to my clients and creatively solving their problems for them. So that's kind of what got us to where we are today.
Okay, and you said your idol clients are big companies. So, can I be more specific? Like, what kind of big companies?
Yeah, so we work for, a lot of the largest restaurant groups in the United States, some of the largest healthcare, some really big retail, and a ton of clients in fintech. So really across a wide spectrum of genres of industries. But yeah, we've been really, really fortunate. And many of those clients have been repeat clients year over year with, multi-year deals.
So, when a client comes to you like stuck, so how do you diagnose the real problem?
That comes with trust and authenticity, right? It's asking more questions, right? Because the thing about it is a lot of times people in my industry will have a certain product or a certain way of doing things that they want to sell to a client. And, we always try to be more reactive, just kind of go, let me really get to the heart of what your issue is and why your issue is what your issue is. So there's been times, for example, where we would go in and we would pitch a concept to a client and immediately they go, no, 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 no. We tried that before and we don't want to do that. It failed miserably. And a lot of times people would stop right there. But what I would say is go, well, let's talk about that. How did you execute on it? And was there something in the way you executed on this that was the failure point, that maybe the idea itself wasn't the failure, it was the way you went about and approached it. So let's dissect that and see if we can't solve some of those smaller problems to actually get to this big idea, which actually is a really good idea for you. And so being able to, you know, have those conversations authentically, right? Respectfully, because one of my favorite lines with the client is, listen, you you hired me for my opinion, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion, but you're the client, you're paying me, and we're going to do it however you want to do it. But there's a reason why you hired me. So, listen to me or don't listen to me, but here's where I think we should go. But I'm going to respect what you want to do because, at the end of the day, it's your show. So you start speaking that way. And once you build that level of trust with the clients, then they start coming to you before their idea is done. They start coming to you with, here's the problem that we have, right? And how do you think we should go about solving it? What are some creative ways we can go about solving it, as opposed to, here's the idea that we want to execute? Sorry, put my do not disturb on.
Yeah,
So
no
then I can.
problem. It happens. Okay, so can you share like what are the few like 2 3 questions that you ask before proposing any kind of creative solution?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question, I think, pretty standard big question is, what do you want your audience to do? What do you want them to feel? Right? When they leave, what does success look like? Right? So, a lot of times it's a lot of talking heads, or you have these big conferences. There'll be a big wow moment, big explosion and tigers and whatever to start the whole thing. And it's like, what does that have to do with your message? I'm cool with the explosions and the tigers, right? If it's supporting what you want people to remember, right? The eye of the tiger, right? Okay, that makes sense. But so, what is it you want people to do? And one of my favorite stories was working with an executive year over year, and he was a high level executive at a company, and I noticed year over year when he would go onto stage, about 15 to 20% of the audience would get up and go to the bathroom or go take
Okay.
phone calls and leave the
Okay,
room, right?
okay. Okay. Yeah.
So as I was working with him, for an upcoming conference, I just said, so what do you think that's about? Why do you think that happens? Why do you think so many people get up and walk out when you hit the stage? And his response was, well, screw those guys. And he used a much more colorful word than that, right? And I said, what if we didn't? What if we didn't screw those guys? What is it they're
Mhm.
upset about? Well, they're mad about this and they're mad about this thing and they didn't like the way I did this. Blah, blah, what he knew exactly what their issues were. I said, what if this year, when you walk out on stage, the first thing you do is address those 3 or 4 things that that they have concerns about, or they're angry about, or they're frustrated about, right? He was like, but he did it, and people stayed. And they not only stayed, he got a standing ovation at the end. This first time he ever got a standing ovation. And it's so simple, right? This concept that the audience, when you're doing a big conference or an event, the audience typically doesn't have ears to hear what you are trying to tell them, unless they know that you've had ears to hear what they're trying to say to you. Right? And as soon as he
Yeah.
flipped that on the ear, it changed the entire perspective. And so it's that sort of a thing. It's like, what do you want? You want these people to be on your side. You want them to sell more for you. You want them to buy into your new advertising initiative, whatever it is. Let's get them to a place where their hearts and their minds are aligned, where they can receive the information, the thing you want them to do.
Yeah. Okay, so can you share a recent case study of any of your clients?
Hmm. Yeah, I just in the just about 12 months ago, I had a really really interesting project for a client. Now, this was outside of like a corporate business thing. This is a very large retail brand here in the United States, and they're known for um, Western wear, Western retail wear, and a lot of like work boots and jeans and things like that. But they have this really, really interesting line for women called Wonder West. So the name of the client is Boot Barn. And they have a really interesting line for called Wonder West, and it's more theatrical Western wear for women. So if you're going to, I live in Nashville, right? So if you're going to the CMA Awards or the CMT Awards or any of the big country music awards, you're going to go to Wonder West and get yourself a fancy outfit to wear. So what they wanted to do is Victoria's Secret used to do a very large fashion show each year. It was a big made for television special. And Victoria, and that went away. And it actually came back the same year in 2023 when we were doing or in 2024 when we did our program. And so basically what they wanted to do is they wanted to compete with the Victoria's Secret fashion show and do a television show, right? Made for television, all celebrity audience, and it had never been done before. And they wanted to do it during CMA week here in Nashville. So CMA is the Country Music Awards, right? And it's held the second week in November, and it's the biggest week for country music all year long. And so all the celebrities are in Nashville that week. So 2 nights before the CMAs, I found a location for them. I executive produced and created, working alongside their head of creative, Aisha Nicole at Boot Barn, and we brought this vision to life, which was a fashion show, 250 celebrities in the audience in a really incredible location in downtown Nashville. We have a complete 1-to-1 replica of the Parthenon in Greece, actual full-size Parthenon. So people came in through the Parthenon, exited out the back. There was this beautiful tent, completely wrapped 360 with LED visuals. And Aisha had shot a film of these models modeling the clothing all around the world, in Greece and in Italy and New York and in Los Angeles. And that became the backdrop, these visuals of these models around the world. And the same models come out live on and do this runway show. It was incredibly beautiful. So then, that show itself was like, okay, so why do people want to watch this? Why do people want to watch
Right.
this? We don't have celebrities actually watching, right? We have beautiful clothing, we have beautiful visuals, but why do they want to watch it? So I pitched around this idea of, okay, so what if the celebrities that are involved with Boot Barn, we tell their stories integrated into this, right? What are the things, the charities, the causes that they are passionate about? And we tell the stories from Miranda Lambert and Jelly Roll and Riley Green and these big, big country stars. And so now the show becomes like a behind the scenes, a making of, and then the actual show itself. And so with all those pieces together, it was a beautiful, it's about a 45-minute show that ran on Hulu and Roku here in the United States. And it was so outside the box and so beautiful for a retailer to create actually a piece of art to sell their clothing. So that's one little thing.
That's great. Okay, so what do you wish every client understand before they start to work with you?
Oh, what the clients understand before there's work with me. Um, you know, I think people, since I've been in this industry for 40 years, they get to see my work, right? My experience, my portfolio kind of stands for itself, so they can see that I've done so many different things, from the largest scale events, 80,000 people in a music festival, to you know thousands of people at corporate events, to television commercials, to webcasts. I mean, all over the place. So they understand that, and I think what I always want them to know is I might be the right guy to work with. I might not be the right guy to work with. If you have a problem, I'm going to come in and I'm going to give you my opinion. And if it resonates with you and you feel like I'm somebody that you could work well with, then let's give this thing a shot and see what we can create together. But I also tell clients, this might not be the right project for you to bring me in on, but maybe there's something in 5 years from now and we'll work together then. So I try to hold on loosely, and that way I can be honest and be authentic and always be an advocate for my clients to get them the best thing that they want and hopefully need at the same time.
Yeah, by the way, tell me about your book.
My book. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this change in life, right? So I left Go West and started Created by just before I turned 60 years old in 2024. And so it was a big life change. And it moved my family from downtown Nashville out into the suburbs and found myself at the beginning of this year walking a lot. I made a commitment to walk at least 5 miles a day just to try to stay fit, try to stay healthy, try to process things. And so while I was out there, I would do some my spiritual stuff. I would listen to the Bible, that sort of thing. But then I would just have all these thoughts in my head. So I started doing these 3 minute videos every day on social media, on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and it called it the Nashville Walk and Talk. And at first, it was me talking about, here's what I did today, or really unimportant things. But then I started getting into like much deeper topics around forgiveness and heartbreak and perseverance, and people that were father figures in my life, and just deep topics in a 3 minute video. Right after I had 100 of these, and I'm seeing the responses coming in from my viewers that really resonate with this or that or whatever. I was like, well, maybe I'll just put together a collection of these stories as a Christmas gift for some of my friends and some of my followers. And so I started putting it together, and it's kind of a big process. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something more here. So then I hire an
Uh-huh.
editor in Los Angeles, and I start working. And then, really, it kind of goes to who I am as a process. In 8 weeks from the time I decided I was going to put this collection together to the time I was, got the book done, and we actually launched it on Amazon right before Thanksgiving, and it debuted at #1 release in 6 different categories on Amazon. We got a bestseller on Amazon for the category of personal transformation and spirituality. So the book is called Hello, Fine Friend, and the subtitle is A Collection of Unsolicited Random Thoughts inspired by walking 1,000 miles. So this year I've walked about 1,350 miles already this year. And I get unsolicited because nobody asked my opinion, but I just kind of
Uh-huh.
give it because I have thoughts on all topics. So that's what that is.
Okay, brother. So for our listeners who want to get some help from you, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to I've got a couple of different websites. You can just go to davidfischette.com. There's an easy way to get a hold of me, or created by, and created by is like, sounds easy, but it's spelled stupid, right? It's CRE, the number 8 TDBY. So CRE, the number 8 TDBY.com, createdby.com. And they can get a hold of me there, and or they can follow me on any of the socials and get a hold of me there.
Yeah, by the way, that's not stupid. That's creative.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
It is great. Yeah.
Okay, David, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And it was really fun chatting with you.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate you. Bye now.